to have this notion of, no, Black Lives Matters, Me Too movement, don't say I'm your nigga.
Yeah, Sheikh.
Sneako has done it again. He just exposed this Sheikh for being who he truly is. Just a quick background on Sneako for those of you who might not know who he is. Sneako was a YouTuber who got banned off of YouTube and is now streaming on different streaming sites. He converted to Islam after his daddy Andrew Tate converted. He's one of those guys like Aiden Ross who looks up to Andrew Tate like he is God. I mean, Aiden Ross literally sniffed Andrew Tate's chair.
And it took me a while to understand that, and you know it did. And I
like, what a weirdo, bro. But now that we got it out the way, I want you guys to watch this first clip.
Yes, sir.
Did he peep that?
I have a question that I've been struggling with this one ever since I read this hadith, which stuff a lot. I have to admit I didn't like when I read it. And the hadith is the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said that the people of Yemen are the best of people. And I also read the hadith where it says that there's no race is better, there's no racial supremacy. And then I read this one, and to this day I'm still struggling to believe, like, why are the people of Yemen better? What does that mean?
Change your profile picture.
This is my niece.
You can do. Can I see her?
Yes.
Can I?
I love it. No problem.
No, haram. Anyhow, listen.
Well, no, Sheikh, tell him.
First of all, we as Muslims have to have submission, certainty, no questions asked, no strings attached. This is Quran, I believe it. Do you fully embrace it? Yes. No questions asked. This is a hadith. Do you take it? Is it authentic? Is it?
That's what I read, yeah.
Then if it's authentic, it's from Allah. How could I be shaky?
So I want you guys to realize what he just said. This Sheikh is asking whether the hadith Sneako read is real or not. Just so you know, hadiths are different books written by various people that describe the Prophet's life. That means the hadith cannot come from Allah like he says. And it gets even funnier throughout the video. You'll notice him jumping all over the place with his explanations.
Because if you want to be shaky, this means that you don't have certainty. And when you don't have certainty, you're this close to flipping to the dark side.
But I mean, how are we able to judge how authentic hadith is, or?
You don't. How do you judge whether this neurosurgeon who's going to do a spine cord surgery on you is authentic or not?
Judged by opinions of other people.
Okay, so by whose people?
The professionals.
Professionals. So you go to the scholars.
That's why I'm asking you.
I'm coming to you. I'm not answering yet.
So now he's comparing judging a hadith, which is supposed to be a holy book, to choosing a surgeon. That doesn't really make sense. When people look for a doctor, they're usually referred by a family member or someone they trust. But as far as we know, Sneako doesn't have any Muslim family members to guide him. And here's the ironic part. This example completely backfires on him. He's telling Sneako to consult a scholar, but that's literally what Sneako is doing at this moment. So in trying to make a point, he ends up proving Sneako is right instead. This is honestly hilarious. Let's keep watching.
I'm just setting the foundation for the belief. The biggest problem we have with the Westerners from America and from Canada and from Europe is that they don't have their Islam on cemented area. They're so easy to flip to the other side, and that's why you find many of them starting to be good and strong and mashallah, and all of a sudden I have doubts. Why?
And this is exactly why Islam will never see a massive wave of conversions in the West. Unlike people in strictly religious countries, Westerners grow up exposed to many different cultures and beliefs. So naturally, they're going to have more questions when it comes to religion. If you go to a school in a Western country, you've probably had friends from all sort of religious backgrounds. Some good, some not so good. So if you're someone genuinely searching for the true religion, you're bound to have a lot of questions. Now, let's take someone like Sneako, who didn't become a Muslim because of deep spiritual experience or some life-changing revelation. He converted to Islam through online debates, meaning his decisions was based on arguments rather than personal conviction. So once he actually starts practicing the religion, of course he's still going to have doubts. He's going to keep questioning things because he never had that unshakable spiritual certainty to begin with. It seems more like this Sheikh wants Sneako to accept everything that comes with the religion without any questions whatsoever, simply because he already said he is Muslim. To be fair, that's how most religions operate. Once you declare your faith, there's little room for doubts. If you start to question things, people will see it as a sign of weak faith rather than a natural part of learning.
The Prophet married Aisha when she was 9. Ooh, you're a kafir.
Wait, what? This makes absolutely no sense at all whatsoever. So if I'm reading my holy book and come across stories of my prophet doing things that seems questionable, I'm just supposed to ignore it or have any doubts at all? How does that even work? I can't wrap my head around that logic. This is exactly why people in the West end up leaving Islam, because of sheikhs like this who discourage any kind of critical thinking. In Western societies, people are encouraged to ask questions and think for themselves. So when they're told to blindly accept everything without hesitation, it pushes them away. It's a different story in Islamic countries though. I'm not even sure if people there are allowed to openly leave Islam without facing serious consequences. In some places, leaving the religion isn't just frowned upon. It can come with a lot, like real social, legal, or even physical risk. That's a big reason why you don't see as many people openly questioning their faith in those environments.
So the issue is, I'm not punching below the belt. I don't know what you guys' views are, but I'm telling you, Islam is crystal clear. The Prophet said, I've left you on Islam, which is as clear as night and day. There's nothing ambiguous in it.
This just isn't true. Islam is not crystal clear. In fact, no religion is crystal clear. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. If Islam were truly clear-cut, there wouldn't be different sects arguing over whether hadiths should even be accepted. The reality is, religious texts often leave room for interpretation, which is why you see so many debates, disagreements, and even conflict within the same faith. If everything was straightforward and undisputed, there wouldn't be centuries of theological debates or different schools of thought. The fact that Muslims themselves can't even agree on core aspects of their faith proves that Islam, like every other religion, is far from being perfectly clear.
Counseling sessions I do over the year, thousands. I counsel people for money. They come to me, they pay me $220 per hour. I'm cheap. So what's the problem? And they come to me and say, Sheikh, I'm not certain that Allah exists. And you're a kafir. End of call.
Imagine being so unsure about your faith that you're willing to pay a scholar $220 an hour just to get some clarity. You're looking for answers, hoping to resolve your doubts. And instead of them helping, the scholar just hangs up on you and calls you a kafir, which basically means someone who rejects and disobeys God. That's honestly pretty sad. Like, if someone is struggling with their beliefs and sincerely asking for guidance, the last thing they need is to be shut down and insulted. It just goes to show how some religious leaders are not really interested in helping people understand. They just want blind obedience. And when someone questions too much, rather than engaging in a meaningful discussion, they'd rather dismiss them entirely. It's no wonder why so many people walk away from religion after experiences like this.
Watch out. If you doubt something in Islam that is beyond doubt, the Prophet ﷺ, if you look down at him, if you think bad about him, if you think something wrong with the Quran, if you think Allah Azza wa Jal is unfair, you're a kafir. We don't have to beat around the bush.
This Sheikh is all over the place. What Sneako's doing is completely normal. He read a book, came across something that didn't sit right with him, and decided to ask for clarification. That's literally how learning works. And here's the thing, why would anyone need to ask a scholar for clarification if they were already 100% certain about something? The whole point of asking questions is because you're not certain. That's exactly why Sneako is reaching out in the first place. Instead of acknowledging that, this Sheikh is acting like questioning things is some kind of flaw, when in reality it's just part of the process of understanding anything deeply.
I can explain everything to you. The thing is, if you don't have certainty, this is one of the 7 conditions of La ilaha illallah. Honesty, certainty, acceptance, and the likes. If you don't have certainty, you're not a Muslim.
By this logic, any new convert to Islam isn't really a real Muslim. Think about it for a second. There's no way someone who just converted is going to have absolute certainty about everything in the religion. Doubts and questions are naturally part of the process. If that's the case, then what's even the point of dawah, which is spreading Islam? Let's say I'm not a Muslim and you approach me on the street while doing dawah. We talk and afterward I decide, I'm like, you know what? I think I'll give Islam a try. Even though I don't fully understand everything or have complete certainty. According to what this Sheikh is saying, I'm not actually a Muslim just because I still have questions. And if we follow that same logic, then Andrew Tate was never really a Muslim either. So why were so many Muslims upset about him going to church on Easter? If he never had full certainty, then by this standard, he was never a true believer to begin with. But that's a whole different conversation. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about that hadith specifically?
Sure thing. What was the hadith?
Why are the people of Yemen the best of people?
Sneako is not backing down from his question. I'm not sure if the Sheikh is purposely trying to avoid answering or if he just doesn't know how to respond. But either way, Sneako isn't letting it slide. He needs an answer and he's not going to sleep peacefully tonight until he gets one. What Trump say again? The weave.
You know what the weave is? I'll talk about like 9 different things and they all come back brilliantly together. And it's like, and friends of mine that are like English professors, they say, it's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen.
The Prophet did not say that they are the best in the sense of that they are the most believers. He said that they have the cleanest of hearts and the most truthful and honest of rhetoric. They don't lie. That's in generality. And this is one of the ways of the Prophet ﷺ of being positive. He said positive things about all the tribes in Arabia, about the people in Tamim, in Najd. He said this about the people of Hijaz. He said this about this and that. Because the Prophet was always positive, looking at the positive things of the people, not looking at the negatives and to put them down.
To be fair, this isn't a bad answer, but I can see why it could be problematic. When you're a prophet and you publicly emphasize the strength and superiority of one group, it naturally makes the other group wonder if they're somehow lesser or not as important. That kind of messaging can create division, even if that wasn't the intention. People might start questioning their worth or feeling like they don't belong, which can lead to tension and misunderstandings. So while the response itself makes sense, it's easy to see how it could stir up doubts or concerns among different groups. So this next clip I'm about to show you is really interesting because I think Sneako has been building up to this moment the entire time. It seems like everything he's asked so far was just leading up to this one big question, the one he truly wants an answer to. What makes this even more fascinating is that I don't think the Sheikh realizes what's happening. He might think he's just answering random questions, but in reality, Sneako has been steering this conversation towards this specific point. Let's see how this plays out.
They said that simply they have clean hearts, they don't hold a grudge, and we see this among the people we know from Yemen. We know them.
Could you, I don't mean to keep going on this, but could you not argue that that's racial supremacy?
So what? We do know that there is racial supremacy. We do know that although blacks and whites, red and yellow, are equal and they only differ with the taqwa, the piety in the heart, but we also know that Allah selected the Arabs due to their language, due to their heritage, due to their supremacy at the time between the Byzantines, the Persians, the Jews, and the Christians, of maintaining a level of moral conduct and a level of social justice between them.
So Sneako is playing devil's advocate here, asking a really interesting question. If God specifically chose the Yemeni/Arab people, doesn't that imply a form of racial superiority? The Sheikh's response is definitely something to think about. He explains that God chose the Arab people because of their language, heritage, moral conduct, and social justice at the time. Now, while that isn't the worst answer he's giving in this video, it does raise some serious questions. For one, during the time when God supposedly chose the Arabs, they were actually pagans and idol worshippers. So if their religious practices at the time were not aligned with monotheism, what exactly made them worthy of being chosen? And also, this social justice claim is also pretty shaky. What specific justice system were they known for that made them stand out above others? Then there's a language argument. Is he suggesting that Arabic is the most complex or superior language, which is why it was favored? And as for the heritage, what exactly about the heritage made them more deserving than other groups? There's a lot to unpack here, and some of these claims don't fully add up.
But today, we don't judge people by the color. In Saudi Arabia, you see this. We may have imams who are black. We have non-Arabs leading the prayer. You'll have me. I'm not originally Arab. I'm originally from Indonesia. So that nobody says anything. Nobody dares to say anything with my 9mm Glock. But still, we respected and we feel, they're our homies. We have no problem.
So
The Sheikh really should have just said this and moved on. It would have been the smarter move. But at the same time, I have to give him credit for at least being honest and not trying to sugarcoat his views just to appeal to a Western audience. A lot of religious influences tend to do this thing where they soften or twist what's written in their religious text just to make it sound more appealing and easier for people to accept. It's almost like they're marketing a version of the religion that's more digestible rather than presenting it as it truly is. And honestly, that can feel pretty manipulative because instead of letting people make informed decisions, they're being fed a watered down version of the faith that's designed to hook them in quickly. So while I may not agree with everything this Sheikh is saying, at least he's been upfront about his views.
We integrate it. We don't look down at anyone. But to have this notion of, no, Black Lives Matters, Me Too movement, don't say I'm your nigga. We don't have this nonsense.
Damn, this is complete meltdown mode. You can just see it in Sneako's face. He's probably thinking, what have I gotten myself into? At this point, he's realizing that things have spiraled way out of his control. Not only is the Sheikh completely losing it, but it's all happening on camera. And now Sneako's probably worried that he just played a role in making a religious leader publicly go off the rails. In his mind, he's probably freaking out, thinking, great, now I've really done it. This is definitely sending me to hell.
like the way Trump talks about people. They're great. He's great. You know.
But also,
I'm good too. You know.
but also, he's not saying they're the best. He's saying a specific trait in them is good.
Yep.
A specific trait, their kind hearts, is good in Yemen.
This is how you know the explanation was weak. When after 30 minutes of the Sheikh trying to answer Sneako's question, other people still had to step in to clarify. If the original explanation made sense, there wouldn't be a need for extra people to jump in and break it down even further. The fact that they had to do that just proves that the Sheikh's response wasn't clear or convincing enough on its own. It's like he spent half an hour talking in circles, and in the end, Sneako and probably everybody else watching was still left confused.
And best of all people.
Yeah, I think the misunderstanding of the hadith.
You read that wrong.
Yeah, translation Tara, is very, very problematic. And this is why we say learn Arabic. In the translation, it could flip things all over the place. There's a hadith where the Prophet
Some scholars love to use this excuse. They blame the translation whenever something in the text sounds questionable or unclear. But here's the thing, even people who fluently speak Arabic still argue over the meaning of these religious texts. So don't fall for the idea that just because you learn Arabic, the Hadith and the Quran will suddenly become crystal clear to you. That's just not the case. The reality is these texts have always been debated, even among scholars who know the language inside and out. So acting like the only issue is a bad translation is just a way to dodge difficult questions. And honestly, today wasn't this Sheikh's day. He struggled big time, and it's pretty clear he's not quite ready to handle speaking in front of a Western audience. He's used to talking to people who already accept his views without much pushback, but when faced with real critical questions, he just couldn't keep up. So I'm gonna end it here. Remember, you don't know what you don't know. Stay sharp.